Okay, so years ago, I was reffing at a jiu-jitsu tournament for the IBJJF in Seattle. And I had been partnered with another black belt, and he and I were taking turns refereeing. We would referee for an hour or two, and then, the other would take over, so we were each getting breaks. Because that's what you need as a referee, because your brain starts to get scrambled after a couple hours. It's like playing Where's Waldo or staring at a Magic Eye puzzle. Anyway, the other fellow took the first shift, and I had nowhere else to be. So I just sat there and watched the matches he was refereeing. And one of the earlier matches that he reffed was between two masters black belts. And what happened was one athlete put the other in a standing cross choke. And the other athlete then just backed straight off the mats. Now, under IBJJF rules, when someone leaves the mat while in a submission, there's a few things that can happen, and it's up to the referee to decide which one. If the referee feels the athlete went off the mat kind of by accident and was like legitimately defending the submission, trying to find his way free of the submission hold, whether it's an arm lock or a choke or a foot lock or whatever, if the referee thinks that the athlete was legitimately defending and just went off the mat kind of by accident, then he restarts them in the middle again, he restarts them standing, he awards 2 points to the attacking athlete, because he can't restart them in the submission, because the attacking athlete is going to try and make it much tighter than it was when they went off the mat, and the defending athlete is going to try and make it much looser than it was when they went off the mat. So you can't restart it, you just award the attacking athlete 2 points, restart it standing, right? However, if the referee feels that the athlete that left the mat was not legitimately defending the submission, if the referee feels that the athlete went off the mat hoping the referee would stop it and restart them standing and give him a better position, save him from having to tap, then the referee just disqualifies the athlete for leaving the mat in a submission, right? You can't do that on purpose and hope the referee will, give you an opportunity to save yourself or whatever, But years ago when I was in Seattle with this fellow, he did neither of those things. He didn't award the 2. He didn't disqualify anybody. He just put them back in the middle of the mat standing and just said go, which I guess means that in his opinion, the choke that the attacking athlete was doing was not really a submission hold. It was just, wasn't really tight enough. There was no actual threat, that sort of thing, and it didn't warrant the athlete being disqualified, and it didn't warrant the any 2 points being awarded or what have you. So he just put them back in the middle and said, combat, off you go, and the fight continued. And no surprise, the coach of the attacking athlete, he went ballistic. He started shouting, "You should have disqualified that guy. He went off the mat in a submission," and all this stuff, right? And curiously, it was that athlete that backed off the mat, as I recall. It was that athlete that won. He ended up scoring some points or doing something, and he ended up winning the match. And then again, no surprise, the coach of the other athlete who had been doing the choke, he went onto the mat, which you're not supposed to do, but the coach went onto the mat and said to the referee, this Brazilian fellow that I was partnered with, he said to him, "The guy went off the mat in a submission hold. You should have disqualified him." And then this fellow with whom I was paired, this super laid-back Brazilian black belt guy, he said to the coach of this other athlete, he said, "Hey, you see what you see, I see what I see," which is like a very cool way of saying we all have different opinions, but I'm the referee, and I can't allow my opinion to be influenced by your opinion or the opinion of anyone else. I took the job of being the guy to put up the points and pick the winners, and you took the job to coach the athletes. So, while I respect your opinion doesn't influence my opinion. Anyway, me and this fellow, we were taking turns reffing. And wouldn't you know it, that afternoon, I was refereeing a student of that fellow with whom I was partnered. It was the purple belt lightweight division, I believe. And the fellow with whom I was partnered, the other referee, he was behind maybe he was sitting in the coach's chair, I don't even remember. And he was, coaching his athlete, and I was the referee. And his athlete pulled guard, and he had a pretty good guard. And there was an athlete, obviously the other athlete was now trying to pass. And at one point in the match, he got around the legs of the athlete on the bottom, the student of the fellow with whom I was partnered. He got around his legs, and he got side control. And the fellow on the bottom was still trying to, he was trying to get back to his guard. He wasn't trying to get a sweep or a choke or a back kick. He was trying to re-guard. And the top athlete had secured a fairly good side control, and he was there for some time. And I gave the guy on the bottom, because you're supposed to say, okay, you get the points after the top athlete has stabilized the position. But once you're on, once you're side controlling a guy and he's flopping around like a fish in a boat trying to get back to his guard, but you've been there for some time. At a certain point, hey, that's the 3, So anyway, so I put up the 3 for the guard pass because the guy was side control. The guy in the bottom was trying to get back to his guard, but he was trying to get back to his guard. His guard had been passed. And I put up the 3, 3 for the pass. And then don't you know it, the coach was like, oh, no, man, that's not, you shouldn't be awarding those points or whatever. And then the athlete who got the 3 points for passing, he ended up winning the match based on those 3 points. And then after I raised his arm and sent them off or whatever. And then just like before, the coach came onto the mat and said, hey, except now this was the guy that I had been partnered with, for refereeing that day. And I was the referee and he was now the coach. And he said to me, hey, you shouldn't have given him the 3 points there. And so I said to him, hey, you see what you see, I see what I see. So I said back to him exactly what he had said to the other coach earlier that day. And the look in his face, he just was like, I don't know. And I thought that was a thing of beauty. Yep. And what's the moral of the story? Just like I said, the referee has taken the job of being the guy who puts up the points. Or if there's no points, picks a winner. And the coach of the athletes, no one called him and said, oh, hey, come to the tournament and criticize all the referees. No one told him to do that. He's there coaching the athletes. So, And while I respect your opinion doesn't influence my opinion, nor should it. You're kind of biased. You're a coach of one of the athletes. Anyway, we all have different opinions. Hopefully we've all read the rule book. But still, at the end of the day, I see what I see, you see what you see,